She starved for books. Then a millionaire CEO did the unthinkable at 3 a.m. In a sleepy little town where secrets lingered like the fog that rolled in from the ocean, Emma Wells had become a ghost. A ghost in the flesh, drifting through the hushed aisles of the local library, her fingers brushing against the spines of books that kept her company. These stories were her escape. They were her lifeline, her everything. But as the nights grew darker and longer, Emma's obsession twisted into desperation, leaving her hollow inside, starving for the words that filled her with life. Then came the whispers about the enigmatic millionaire Max Donovan. Just the mention of his name sent shivers through the town. A tech genius turned CEO, he had everything: money, power, and a mansion so vast it swallowed the sky. But along with that fortune, he had a twisted reputation. Rumors circulated like wildfire about strange happenings in the midnight hours at his estate. Lights flickering, unexplainable noises, and a library filled not just with books, but also with the grotesque and peculiar. Each tale was wilder than the last, fanning the flames of curiosity among townsfolk. One fateful night, curiosity overcame Emma. Like a moth to a flame, she found herself standing at the front gate of Max Donovan's home, the moonlight casting ghostly shadows around her. The air buzzed with electricity. She felt a tightness in her chest, a thrill coupled with dread. Could she really enter? Would she uncover the secrets hidden within? Or would she become just another rumor in a town that thrived on tales of the unknown? As she crept closer, a piercing scream echoed through the crisp night. It was a sound that clawed at her very bones. Her heart hammered in her chest like a fierce drum, her trembling hands gripping the wrought iron gate as she peered into the labyrinth of towering bookshelves illuminated by a solitary flickering light. Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Emma inched towards the entrance, curiosity battling fear, as the light flickered again. And there, at the center of the room, stood Max, his back to her, pages swirling in the air around him as if a tempest was brewing between realms. And just like that, the question loomed heavy in the silence. What unthinkable act would follow in that chilling, enchanted moment at 3 a.m., when she finally faced a man who held the power to change everything? Emma held her breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. The flickering light danced, casting eerie shadows across the room, while the sound of rustling pages filled the air. It was mesmerizing and terrifying all at once. She hesitated, caught between the urge to flee and an overpowering curiosity to know more. Max Donovan stood tall, surrounded by towering shelves packed tightly with books. His hair was disheveled, eyes reflecting the flickering glow, lost in whatever mystical chaos swirled around him. Just then he turned slightly, and Emma's heart raced as he seemed to sense her presence. "Who's there?" His voice echoed, deep and slightly abrasive, cutting through the stillness like a knife. Emma's throat went dry. She struggled to form words and considered bolting back into the night. But she stayed. This was the moment for which she had longed. The thing people only whispered about in dim-lit corners of diners over half-eaten meals. She had to find out what was happening here and who this man really was. Max scanned the room with a feral intensity, his eyes piercing the shadows. "Come closer," he commanded, a flicker of impatience in his tone. Emma hesitated, every instinct screaming for her to run. But the lure of the unknown kept her rooted in place. She took a hesitant step forward, then another, until she was no longer hidden behind the gate. "What do you seek?" he asked, his words dripping with curiosity. They weren't just words, they were bait, drawing her further into the enigmatic web that was his life. Emma felt as if she were standing on the precipice of a towering cliff, the waves of the unknown crashing below. I love books," she stuttered, her voice barely above a whisper. "I wanted to see your library." A slow smile crept across his lips, a split-second flicker of something almost human. "You would trade your truths for stories?" he mused, the words sounding ancient, full of secrets. He stepped aside, revealing an expansive space filled with books that seemed to shimmer under the dim light. It was unlike any library she had ever imagined. "What is this place?" Emma breathed, drawn in by the intoxicating scent of leather-bound covers and aged paper. Each spine told a story she could only dream of. "Not all stories are kind," Max said, his voice lowering. "Some are dangerous." A chill ran down Emma's spine. A thought flickered in her mind. What had she stepped into? The air around her grew heavy, laden with mysteries that seemed alive, hungry. She resisted the urge to retreat, pressing on, need gnawing at her. "Why do you collect them?" she finally asked, breaking the silence. Max stepped back, and the pages swirling around him settled slowly. Sometime, I need to borrow their knowledge." There was something dark beneath his words, something that spoke of power and sacrifice. "What do you mean?" Emma's heart thudded louder, a frantic rhythm in the thick, charged atmosphere. But before he could respond, a low rumble shook the mansion. Books shifted ominously, and a distant cry filled the air, echoing through the mansion like a warning. Max's expression changed, shifting from intrigue to urgency. "We need to leave now," he barked, suddenly moving towards a hidden door at the back of the library. Emma's mind raced. She had come looking for answers, but now she felt she was chasing shadows in a nightmare. "Wait!" she shouted, but he was already retreating into the dark doorway, beckoning her to follow. Would she dare step into the unknown? Or would she turn back now, leaving the mysteries buried where they belonged? Her chest tightened, and she glanced back toward the entrance. The choice loomed before her, heavy and foreboding. What awaited her beyond that door? What was Max hiding? The thought gripped her fiercely, only intensifying the fear that buzzed through her. With one last glance back at the flickering light, she took a deep breath and plunged forward into the shadowy abyss, her heart hammering wildly, ready for whatever awaited. But what she didn't know was that this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything she believed about herself. The door creaked as Max led Emma into the darkness. The musty scent of ancient wood and dust enveloped her like a heavy blanket, and her heart raced. Where was he taking her? The thought gnawed at the edges of her mind. The hidden passageway was narrow, walls lined with more bookshelves. She felt the weight of the covers, the dreams locked away in each spine pressing into her as they moved deeper into the shadows. Every step drew her further from light and comfort, into the unknown. "Stay close," Max ordered, his voice echoing in the confined space. His tone was firm, but something about it made her feel exhilarated. He was a man who seemed to weave chaos like a thread through his very being. She wanted to unravel it all. What happens now? The question escaped Emma, though fear tangled with her curiosity, tightening her throat. "Trust me," he replied, glancing back at her with an intensity that made her stomach twist in a deliciously frightening way. "You'll understand soon enough." A flash of white light startled her, illuminating an array of strange symbols carved into the walls, entwined with creeping vines. They looked almost alive, pulsating with an energy she couldn't quite grasp. Her pulse quickened. What kind of magic had she stumbled upon? As they moved further into the depths, the ground trembled beneath them. "What was that?" Emma asked, panic bubbling within her. "Something that wants to be freed," Max murmured, and the tension in his voice sent chills down her spine. She felt an instinctual no scream within her, urging her to turn back. But her legs betrayed her, pushing her forward into danger, into wonder. The passage opened into a vast chamber, illuminated by a single flickering candle that sat atop an ornate pedestal. The walls were draped in velvet, the rich crimson fabric whispering secrets. Books piled haphazardly, some stacked high, others splayed open as if someone had just left them in a hurry, like the whole place was in a constant state of upheaval. "This is incredible," she breathed, stepping further into the room. Max appeared tense, darting glances toward the walls. "It's not just any library," he said, urgency flashing across his features. "It's a gateway to knowledge and something much darker." Emma furrowed her brow. "What do you mean?" He rifled through the nearest stack, pulling out a tome bound in cracked leather. The pages were yellowed, ink-smeared, as if someone had pressed their hand into it. "These books contain truths that can reshape your reality or end it." "What?" she whispered, her eyes widening. "That's insane." "Is it?" His voice dropped, a challenge igniting in his eyes. You think you know your reality? No one is truly safe in this world, Emma. Even the stories seem to conspire against us. A loud banging echoed through the chamber, shaking the books. Emma jumped, heart racing, glancing at Max for reassurance. He remained stoic, but she could see the tension in his body. Stay here, he commanded, stepping toward the noise. I'll find out what's going on. He didn't wait for her to protest. As he moved, the candle flickered violently, casting eerie shapes on the walls that made her stomach knot. In that moment, an overwhelming urge to follow him surged in her. What was happening? The banging continued, loud enough to make the dust tremble. Max! She called, dread coiling tighter. No answer. Suddenly, the door they had entered through burst open, and a shadowy figure appeared, the candlelight flickering against its form. Emma's heart dropped. Who or what was that? Her entire body froze as the figure stepped forward, revealing a face shrouded in darkness. Looking for something? It hissed, voice like steel scraping against stone, leaving her paralyzed with fear. What had she gotten herself into? The truth was crawling closer, and it was vile and intoxicating all at once. Before she could think, she felt drawn to it, but would it lead to her enlightenment or her destruction? Emma's mind raced, each thought colliding into the next as the shadowy figure advanced. The flickering candlelight did little to illuminate the dark visage, but she could see the twisted edges of its mouth curling into a grin. A sweat broke out on her brow as she tried to steady her breathing. Stay away! She finally managed to shout, but the sound felt hollow, swallowed by the oppressive silence around them. Her heart pounded in her chest like a drum, echoing her fear. You should be more concerned about what your friend is doing, the figure hissed, its voice threading through the room like cold tendrils wrapping around her throat. He's in over his head, and soon you'll be too. Emma's pulse quickened. Max? What did this thing know about him? Straining her ears, she swallowed hard, trying to hear anything beyond the drumming of her own heartbeat. But all she sensed was the low thrumming energy of the chamber, like it was alive, waiting, full of secrets. Max! She screamed again, desperate and frantic. The sudden crash echoed from a distant corner of the chamber, rattling the books on the shelves as if they too felt the distinct shift in energy. The figure paused, lips curling into an unsettling smirk. Ah, the true adventure begins, it said, almost gleefully. Emma hesitated, strands of fear gripping her, but she couldn't just stand there. Max needed her. She had to find him. In a split second, she darted past the looming figure, adrenaline fueling her as she rushed toward the source of the noise. The velvet walls seemed to close in on her as she moved deeper into the chamber, her mind racing with possibilities of what lay ahead. Was it a trap? A creature hungry for souls? With every step, the air thickened, the atmosphere buzzed with dark anticipation. Suddenly, she stumbled near a tall bookshelf, losing her balance as her foot caught on a pile of disheveled books. Landing hard on her knees, she felt the sharp jolt of pain shoot through her. As she caught her breath, she glanced up at the titles of the tomes scattered around her, a mix of ancient spells, forgotten languages, and chilling tales that made her heart race. Emma! Max's voice broke through the chaos, raw and strained. Max! She cried, scrambling to her feet, her heart thrumming. She rushed toward his voice, moving deeper into the shadows. A dim light flickered ahead, illuminating a corner where a set of ornate doors stood ajar. The hinges groaned as she pushed one open, the sound cutting through the heavy silence. Inside, Max was backed against a wall, surrounded by swirling shadows that twisted and writhed as if they were alive. His eyes were wide with a mix of fear and determination. Get out of here! He shouted, but there was no way she would leave him. Not now. Max, I'm not leaving. She stepped closer, the shadows shifting toward her like hungry beasts. They hissed and flickered, their shapes morphing into visages of agony and despair. Emma, you don't understand. He pleaded, fear sharpening his features. Then make me understand. She fired back, grounding herself in the moment, her voice almost steady despite the chaos surrounding them. The air vibrated with danger, and she felt it in her bones. This was it. She was teetering on the edge of a precipice. Suddenly, the shadowy figure from before appeared behind Max, merging seamlessly with the darkness. You both are in for a rude awakening, it said, dark laughter spilling from its lips. What you want is at stake, but it comes with a price. Emma's stomach sank, dread curling in her chest. What kind of price? Max's eyes flicked between her and the figure, panic rising. Then, without a moment's hesitation, Max lunged forward, attempting to push her away, but the shadows surged, consuming him whole. No! Emma screamed, reaching for him. But he was gone, swallowed by the dark force. The flickering lights dimmed, extinguishing the last remnants of hope, plunging the room into utter darkness. What do you want from us? She breathed, sweat trickling down her back as adrenaline coursed through her. Everything, especially your regrets. The voice hissed, deepening the shadows around her. She felt the darkness close in, wrapping around her like a suffocating shroud. What had she awoken? Just as a scream threatened to spill from her lips, she heard a whispered promise amongst the chaos, one that sent a chill deep into her bones. You will find him. But you will lose much more. The shadows sparked with life, and for the first time, she felt their hunger. What had she unlocked in this cursed library? All she knew was that she had to escape or face whatever unspeakable fate awaited her, and Max's desperation surged, as she realized her darkest fears were only just beginning to unfold. Would she be brave enough to uncover the truth? The darkness throbbed around Emma, the shadows clinging to her skin like a damp blanket. Panic clawed at her throat as she fought to breathe, each shallow gasp mingling with the tension in the air. She was trapped. Max was lost, and every second ticked away like a countdown to despair. Show yourself, she shouted, her voice barely piercing the suffocating veil of night. Her heart hammered wildly, panic blending with a surge of determination. The elemental shadows seemed to pulse in response, writhing like damnation itself. Ah, there's the fire. The sinister voice slithered through the dark, a whisper that grazed her ear. Bravery in the face of abyss, a delightful folly. Emma clenched her fists, forcing herself to inhale the petrichor mingling with the musty scent of neglected tomes. She would not let fear snatch her away. Where is Max? What do you want from us? Desire is your greatest weakness, child, the figure replied, stepping into a sliver of light, as if savoring the moment. Its features were grotesque, an unholy blend of shadows and flickering flame, eyes dim and cold like broken glass. It loomed larger than life, a tyrant of the darkness. Tell me. Emma's voice cracked with desperation. Her stomach twisted, the urge to flee clawing at her, but she dug her heels in. I'll do anything. Anything. The figure's grin widened, revealing sharp teeth like daggers. How quaint. Your friend, he wanted power. Knowledge that could reshape the world. The price was steep and he willingly paid. Emma inhaled sharply, disbelief washing over her. Max would never. He wouldn't he? The figure sneered, advancing toward her until the warmth of its breath brushed against her cheek. What do you really know about your beloved friend? Shadows lashed out like serpents and she stumbled back, her heart racing at the implications of its taunting words. No, he wouldn't he. He had dreams, but this? Max! She screamed again, a strangled cry. The wretched space echoed her agony as the shadows coiled tighter. Your friend has chosen, the figure whispered, its voice silk and poison. He sought to unravel the constraints of this reality. Now he pays for his ambition. Where did you take him? Emma gritted her teeth, feeling invincible at that moment despite the darkness wrapping around her. You think I'll just stand by? I'll find him. Ah, but the search turns perilous, it hissed, and every choice reshapes fates. Would you trade your sanity for the echoes of his dreams? Would you delve into madness to reclaim him? Without warning, the shadows surged forward, engulfing her in a maelstrom of cold and despair. She fought against the pull, a scream clawing up her throat as whispers twisted through her mind, dark promises teasing her resolve. What are you? She shouted, feeling a disorienting mixture of fear and rage propel her. The pain of loss and the idea of conspiracy overwhelmed her senses. Am I just a pawn to you? Just a player in a grander game, it taunted, as the dark shadows shrieked around her, their cacophony rising and falling like a grotesque symphony. All games have a cost. Through sheer will, Emma pushed back against the storm, thoughts of Max driving her forward. He had to be out there. Mustering every ounce of courage she had left, she seized a dark book that had fallen from the shelf near her feet. The leather binding crackled under her grip. The title? Secrets of the Lost. Touch that book and you'll unleash horrors unimaginable. The figure warned, voice laced with dark amusement. Emma hesitated, but her pulse quickened with urgency. What choice did she have? Show me, she shouted, holding the book high. The flicker of mumbled incantations from its spine hummed through the air, filling her with an intoxicating dread. If the shadows wanted to play, she would dive headfirst into the game. Just then, a surge of energy whipped around her, illuminating the room in an eerie glow. In that moment, the shadows writhed, twisting back as the book resonated. There, amidst the chaos, Emma felt a flicker of hope ignite in her chest. "Max!" she cried, holding her breath. "I'm coming." But even as her courage rallied, flickering images began to swirl from the book, dazzling but dark, pulling her into a web of secrets that beckoned her ever further. Was it power she truly sought, or had she already dangled over the precipice of insanity? She steadied herself for the journey ahead, knowing she could either rescue Max or fully lose herself in the depths of the chamber. Voices echoed in the silence. Would she be strong enough to face the truth lurking within that cursed tome? Just then, an ethereal whisper danced through the shadows, breathing life into the darkness. "What have you truly signed up for, Emma?" The chilling air thickened, each breath becoming laden with the weight of uncertainty. Emma's world trembled on the edge of revelation, and she could only wonder what lay on the other side of that dreadful choice. Emma's breath caught in her throat as the shadows began to melt and shimmer, forming images that twisted her stomach into knots. Each flicker of light felt like a past unbidden, memories that had buried themselves in the corners of her mind. Faces swam before her, contorted with anguish and desperation, and in each one she saw a flicker of recognition. These were moments she knew, yet they felt like echoes of another life. "Stop it!" she shouted, gripping the book tighter, its spine digging into her palm, grounding her. "Just tell me where he is." The figure shifted in the darkness, its laughter slicing through her resolve like a knife, filling the air with a sickening sweetness. "Ah, the danger of desperation, Emma. To think that your heart, so full of love, will lead you to truth. But where there is light, there too shall be shadows." The images surged, now morphing into something tangible, realities blending into one another. A room filled with countless tomes, golden dust dancing in the sunlight, and the faintest sound of laughter echoed within. Then darkness enveloped once more, a hollow echo that gnawed at her heart. "Max!" Emma cried, her voice breaking. "Don't you dare take him from me." With a pulse of energy emanating from the book, words began to unfurl across the air in vibrant colors, symbols and runes that glowed with an ominous light. "Knowledge is a weapon," the figure murmured, drawing closer. "Every action, every word has weight. You seek to understand too quickly, my dear. What if I told you that Max's fate lies within those very pages?" "No," Emma shouted, a well of anger boiling inside her. "You can't keep me from him." But beneath her anger was flickering fear. The shadows had a grip on her that felt like a vice, tightening with each moment. As the last word left her lips, she felt a rush of icy wind circle her, lifting her hair and swirling the loose papers on the ground. And then everything changed. A sudden flash of light exploded from the book, and she was thrust backward into memories swirling like a cyclone. Instead of the dim room, she now stood in a vibrant place, bright and alive. Max's laughter echoed around her, clear and joyful, but it began to fade as the haunting dark voice wrapped around her once more. "You cannot hold on to the joy of the past and hope to grasp the truth of the present," the figure whispered, every syllable dripping with malice. "You must choose, Emma. Do you proceed into the depths of despair or return to the safety of ignorance?" Trapped in a paradox of choice, Emma's heart raced. The promise of knowledge drummed in her ears, teasing her with images of her friend. Would she lose herself in the quest to save him, or could she hold on to a fragment of hope? In that second, the shadows twitched violently, as if they were waiting, watching, savoring the impending decision. The choice hung heavy in the air, and every heartbeat felt monumental. Emma could feel a shift beneath her feet. The ground trembled, hinting at the chaos lying in wait. "What will it be, Emma? Power or peace?" The figure taunted, pressing closer, wanting to snare her in its As she stood on the cusp of change, a cold realization washed over her. She could either find a way to Max's side or risk the unraveling of her own sanity. Was she strong enough to withstand the truth that lay in the shadows? "Max!" she screamed again, drowning out the darkness, summoning every fiber of her being. "I want to abandon you." But as the screams of lost souls echoed around her, She felt the shadows tugging at her consciousness and her resolve waver. Uncertainty clawed at her heart, a tempest of choices, an abyss of looming dread. And in the dimmest distance, a flicker of light called to her. Too far? Or was it an entryway into the very depths of chaos she feared? Emma's heart raced as the ground beneath her feet shifted. She needed to make her choice. And fast. Could she snatch the truth from the depths before it consumed her completely? As the shadows howled, and the book throbbed in anticipation, she felt the weight of the unknown pressing heavily around her. With a breath that tasted of fire and bravery, she prepared to step into the darkness. What horrors awaited her on that uncharted path, and would she find the answers she sought, or only deeper despair? As Emma took a step into the swirling darkness, it felt as if the air grew thick and suffocating around her. Her heart pounded against her ribcage, drowning out everything else. Everything she'd ever known, the laughter, the warmth of friendship, the safety of familiar places, was swallowed by the shadowy void. The sinister voice wrapped around her tightly. But now you step away from the light, my dear. Into the unknown. Into despair. Glimmers of distant past swirled around her like fireflies, each one tugging at her heartstrings. She summoned the image of Max, smiling, alive. The darkness threatened to erase him from existence, and she clenched her fists. I won't let you take him. Her voice echoed into the void, and for a split second, the shadows seemed to flinch, as if her determination had pierced through the haze. The flickering lights intensified, casting surreal shapes that danced menacingly before her. Bravery is a fleeting flame, Emma, the figure said, now looming closer. The malice in its voice chilled her to the bone, but she refused to back down. She held the book tightly against her chest, as if it was a shield. Then, without warning, the ground beneath her quaked violently. The air around her vibrated, a resonance of sorrow that seared her very soul. She gasped, her breath hitching as cries of pain and despair rang from the shadows. Was this the fate awaiting her, consumed by darkness? With each scream the images shifted, compelling and grotesque visions of Max appearing right in front of her, only to dissolve like mist the moment she reached out. Each time she grasped at him, he slipped away. Laughter suddenly turned bitter, mocking. Just let go. The figure's whispers dripped with venom. Accept the peace of oblivion. No, Emma shouted. I will not abandon him. In a surge of will, her thoughts shifted to the promise written in the ancient tome. Knowledge is a weapon, she murmured, recalling the figure's ominous words. Could it be her salvation? If only she could piece together the fragments of spells hidden inside its pages. The book pulsed against her, sending a rush of warmth through her fingers, a spark igniting her resolve. Felt alive. Turn the pages, the figure hissed, a tinge of panic breaking its calm facade. You do not understand the truth you seek. Didn't she have to confront that truth? She realized then that knowledge might be the only way to break free from the shadows. She stumbled, barely keeping her balance, her heart racing with dread and a fervor she couldn't control. With trembling hands she opened the book. Words unfurled like vines, golden letters spiraling upward. They formed luminous trails that intertwined, illuminating the abyss around her. Pieces of forgotten spells, names of ancient deities, rituals that promised protection and danger. A sudden flash blazed from the text, and she felt wisps of light wrap around her, lifting her spirit. Was it hope? Choose wisely, Emma, the figure hissed, its form twisting in agony. The truth may lead you deeper into despair. Or it could save Max. She roared defiantly, focusing on the words that burned brightly before her. She had to find the right incantation, the right path before it was too late. The shadows writhed, and for a moment, there seemed to be a chance a fragment of what she needed surged in vivid clarity. A voice within the text whispering the way. But in that heartbeat, she sensed it. A dark presence lurking behind her, tightening its grip, waiting for the moment she faltered. Emma! It called her name, a whisper wound with threads of sorrow. Was it Max? She had come too far to turn back. The shadows throbbed with energy, forcing her to make a choice between all she feared and the glimmer of hope that flickered like the last embers of a fading fire. As she drew in a breath, steeling herself for whatever came next, the air crackled with danger and anticipation. What spell would she choose? What would be unleashed? Would it lead her into Max's arms, or the brink of despair? Her heart raced as she focused on the glowing text, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Each word seemed to pulse with energy, a siren-esque call urging her to act now. Time felt distorted, stretching and collapsing around her like the shadows lurking just beyond the light of the book. Focus, Emma, she thought, panic clawing at her insides. She couldn't let the darkness win. A phrase shimmered in between the others. Invoke the light. Those words resonated deep inside her, a glimmer of clarity cutting through the chaos. If she could pull the light from those pages, perhaps it could shield her from the encroaching shadows. A flicker of hope ignited within her, barely grasped but pulsing with life. Invoke the light, she whispered, her voice gaining strength. She had no idea what that meant or how it would manifest, but she had to try. Closing her eyes momentarily, she reached for the warmth she felt earlier, willing it to surge through her, guiding her to weave the incantation. Lumos luxiti veritas. Lumen fons celestium. The words spilled from her lips, radiant vibrations echoing through the air, illuminating the space around her. A shimmering sphere of light erupted above her, casting away the oppressive darkness. For a brief moment, the scream of despair faded, replaced by the soft hum of hope. The shadows recoiled, writhing like snakes. The dark figure shrieked, its form distorting as it struggled against the brilliance. Foolish girl. It roared, its voice now a growl of rage and fear. You think you can thwart the inevitable? Emma felt a surge of power course through her veins, the ancient magic awakening her essence. I won't let you take him. The words spilled forth, powerful and defiant. As the radiance expanded, she saw flickers of movement in the corners of her vision. Each flicker became a fragment of Max, his smile, his spirit, each illuminating her resolve, bolstering her confidence. She reached deeper into the tome, drawing on the very essence of the light. The figure's snarls transformed into furious howls, but Emma was unyielding. The shadows weakened, their tendrils shrinking against the brightness that enveloped her. Lumen fons celestium, she repeated, driving the incantation home. Reality fractured. The air shimmered, flaring with energy. The ground beneath her trembled again, but this time it was a tremor of power and awakening. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, each beat resonating with the rhythm of her fight. But just as hope ignited, the darkness surged, slashing against the radiant barrier Emma had formed. Its claws of despair lunged forward, desperate and hungry. The anguished cries rang louder now, battle cries echoing as if the very fabric of her past fought against the impending threat. Emma! The voice was louder now, more defined, a beacon through the clutches of despair. It was Max. Hold on, Max. She screamed against the growing tide of shadow. She could almost feel him. The warmth of his presence chased away the coldness that enveloped her heart. But the figure, enraged, swiped through the light, sending shockwaves of darkness hurtling at Emma. Your strength will fail, girl, it bellowed. The light cannot hold forever. Emma's breath hitched. She could feel the barrier flickering, the tendrils of darkness creeping closer. She had no time left. How could she unleash more of this light? Panic surged anew, quickening her pulse. Should she fight harder? Or embrace the other spells lurking in the book? Each spell echoed with promise and foreboding, and she wasn't certain if she could trust them. Choose, Emma. The figure almost pleading. Choose wisely now before the light fades and you lose everything. Just then the mixture of fear and hope drew her focus back to the book. A passage appeared, a fragmented sentence whispering to her. It ignited a spark of determination. She would fight, and with a final surge of will, she pressed forward into the light, ready to unleash whatever power she could grasp. What would happen next? Would she harness the magic in time? Or would the shadows consume her entirely? The moment Emma pushed deeper into the light, something shifted. It was as if the very essence of the universe spiraled around her, a wild dance of energy that threatened to consume her whole. She felt the warmth surge through her, wrapping around her like a protective cloak. It was intoxicating. But would it last? The dark figure curled closer, its shape a growing whirl of despair, fury radiating from it like a fire that sought to burn everything in its path. You'll regret this, girl. It snarled. Foolishness never ends well. Emma could hardly think under the weight of the threat. The shadows whipped and twirled, trying to find gaps in her shimmering sphere. Each clawing tendril felt like ice against her skin, making her heart race even faster. But within her, hope roared louder. She had to harness this light. Max! She cried out again, her voice piercing through the chaos like a lighthouse. Memories of laughter, joy, and companionship flooded her, intertwining with her magic. She felt herself rooting in the essence of those moments, his laughter, his unwavering belief in her. "I won't let you go." Then she saw it, another phrase in the book glaring at her, almost mocking her uncertainty. "When the light is fleeting, embrace the void." Embrace the void? Her breath caught as the words twisted in her mind, revealing possibilities that terrified and enthralled her. What if she had to let go? What if accepting the shadows was the key to conquering them? No. The figure clawed at her barrier, its rage filling the air with biting cold. "You won't dare." But she had to make a choice. Gripping the book tighter, Emma whispered, "If I must embrace the void to unleash the light fully, then so be it." With a deep breath, she powered down the light, allowing it to flicker, intensifying the shadows crawling ever closer. The revelation stole her breath, but she pressed through the boundaries of fear, feeling both exhilarated and dread-filled. She could feel the darkness waiting, ready to seize her. "Lumen tenebrarum," she murmured, coaxing an uneasy balance, summoning the very shadows that threatened to consume her. Faces twisted in anguish loomed from the darkness, their silent pleas echoing in her heart. The shadows rippled, enveloping her with chilling whispers, dragging her toward a realm she had always feared. "Join us, Emma. Become one with the shadows. It's easier than fighting." The words slithered like serpents through her mind. "Never!" Emma shouted, the power burgeoning into a tempest of defiance. "I'm not afraid of you. I refuse to let fear dictate my choices." A wave of light burst forth again, brighter than before, erupting from the core of her very being. It battered back the shadows, illuminating every crevice of darkness. She could see the figure, almost vulnerable now, exposed in its twisted wretchedness. But that vulnerability was fleeting as the shadows pooled around it like a thick fog, drawing vibrancy from the light. "You think you understand me?" it bellowed. "You know nothing of the depths from which power flows." Emma felt the trembling of the earth beneath her, a rumbling warning that escalated into seismic waves of energy. The shadows surged frantically. She reached for the spell again, eyes darting back to the book. "Tell me," she demanded. "What must I do?" Just then, among the golden text, new words flickered into existence, bold and demanding. "The light and the dark are one. Balance will bind the fate." Balance. The realization hit her like a jolt. It wasn't just about warding off shadows. It was about understanding their purpose, containing their power for what lay ahead. She had to find the equilibrium. Max's voice, once again like a beacon, called to her, "Emma, trust yourself. You can fight this." The air buzzed, charged with her resolve. Each beat of her heart connected them, him and her, in the very fabric of the magic swirling around her. But as she concentrated on balancing the light within the dark, a haunting scream sliced through the air, sending a chill down her spine. "Emma, the time is now." Max's voice echoed, but it was surrounded by a cacophony of darkness. She knew she was at a threshold, teetering on the edge of chaos. Could she truly harness both worlds? Could she wield them together to save not only him but herself? And as shadows enveloped her heart, squeezing tighter, she took a breath and made her choice. But would it be enough to save Max? Or would it seal her fate in darkness forever? Emma stood on the brink of eternal darkness, the swirling shadows threatening to pull her under. Her heart raced as Max's voice echoed in her mind, urging her to trust herself. Time was slipping away, and she felt the weight of every decision bearing down on her like lead. "Balance will bind the fate." The words whispered in her consciousness, seemingly simple yet daunting. Emma looked around, the concoction of light and shadow twirling violently. Her instincts screamed at her. She couldn't rely solely on the light, nor could she succumb to darkness. Summoning every ounce of strength, she took another step forward. "I won't choose fear," she shouted, her voice reverberating through the room, piercing the tumultuous chaos surrounding her. Emma clutched the ancient book tightly, focusing on its pulsing energy. She recalled all the stories she had read, all the characters who overcame insurmountable odds. What if she could merge those lessons with what she felt? She could channel their combined strength. So many tales of bravery echoing through her heart, guiding her. "Lumen et tenebris." She spoke the words with conviction, feeling the harmony as both warmth and chill surged through her. Light flickered from her core, bathing the chamber in hues of gold and onyx. The shadows recoiled momentarily, the figure's sneer faltering as it took a step back. But just as quickly, it regained its fearsome expression, twisting and lunging again. "You cannot defeat me. This darkness is eternal." But Emma was resolute. "I am my own light and darkness," she declared, strengthening her resolve. "I embrace both." She felt the energy pulse in her veins, a magnificent blend of shadows and brilliance. With that, she thrust her hands forward, channeling both energies, glistening light intertwined with achingly dark tendrils. The chamber erupted with a magnificent burst of color, illuminating even the darkest corners. The figure howled, thrashing as the magic intertwined and propelled forward. Suddenly, within that vibrant collision, Emma glimpsed Max. His form was flickering, faint but undeniably present. "Emma!" he shouted, anchored somewhere beyond the shadows. "You're doing it. Hold on," she cried out, her heart pounding with purpose. Emma focused fiercely on the connection between them, pulling the light toward Max as the shadows writhed around her. She felt every fear and every joy radiating between them, a powerful tie that transcended darkness. With one last surge of determination, she forced her will through the energies, driving the swirling mass toward Max together. Emma shouted with everything inside her, "We can break free." In that instant the energies surged brighter. A blinding white light enveloped the chamber, wrapping around Max and extracting his form from the depths of shadow. Then came a rush, as if the entire world had turned inside out. Emma felt something shift, sickly sweet despair turn to freedom, chains of darkness dissipating before her very eyes. And then, like a breath of fresh air, Max stood before her, his expression tempestuous yet filled with relief. "Emma, you did it." He grasped her shoulder, grounding her even as they staggered against the masks of shadow. But there was no time to linger in joy. The figure writhed in fury, hooting and howling as the light began to consume its dark form. It grew desperate, clawing at the remnants of its essence. "You cannot banish me. I am everywhere and I will always return." "Not this time," Emma thought. "No, you thrive on fear. This ends now." And with that, she drew deeply from the book's energy, reciting the incantation of balance again. Lumen et tenebris, harmonium et libertatem. The finality of her words shattered the last barriers of darkness. With an explosive wave of power, the shadows twitched and torn asunder, swirling into a vortex before being incapacitated completely. The air sparkled and shimmered, the lingering echoes of anguish and despair fading into silence. And just like that, she felt it, the oppressive weight lifting. The shadows were no more, vanquished into the lore of what once had been. Emma exhaled, her whole being tingling with an electrifying sense of victory. Max wrapped her in an embrace, and she felt the warmth of his heart beating against her. "You were so brave, Emma. I feared I lost you in that darkness." "Never," she whispered, allowing tears of relief to slip down her cheeks. "We faced it together." In the renewed calm they turned back toward the remnants of the chamber, the flickering light from the defeated shadows illuminating their path. As they stepped outside, the creeping fog that had once hung over the mansion began to dissipate, revealing a bright horizon painted with the hues of dawn. Each breath came easier now. The world felt alive and vibrant again. "Shall we?" Max asked, gesturing toward the horizon, a smile on his lips. Emma felt her heart swelling. They had arrived on the other side of a harrowing journey, carrying the scars of what they had overcome, but together they were stronger. "Yes," she affirmed, intertwining her fingers with his. "Let us write our own story." And as they walked forward, leaving behind the shadows and chaos, a new adventure unfurled before them like the pages of an unwritten book, filled with endless possibilities. The town was waking up, the sun casting golden beams as thoughts of the past slowly faded like shadows in the light. Emma knew the journey would be long, but she was ready. Whatever it would bring, they would face it together. Now, dear friends, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on the next exclusive story. Smash that like button, do it now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. I'm dying to hear what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means the world. and only true fans understand how important it is to uplift the channel. Thank you for being part of this incredible journey.